All right, it's 1:30. I will call the March 5th, 2026 meeting of the Monroe County Election Board to order. We don't have on our agenda the minutes. We do have the minutes, so I'm just going to entertain a motion to accept the minutes that we have.
So moved. Second.
Okay, those in favor, aye?
Can I
Yes, sure, go ahead.
I want to just bring up something. Are these for the minutes for all three meetings in February?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Chrissy Gales' first name is misspelled. It's C-H-R-I-S-S-I-E as a correction. And I would like to see attached to the resolution the number of polling places and early voting hours from the minutes for February 17th. It says it was included, but it was not attached to what was sent out to us. And then also, this is just, I'm not trying to re-raise an issue, but from the meeting of February 24th, 2026, in the office, they altered a Can 12 form of a candidate. And I was surprised to hear that because at our training that we all attended in December, we were told that a candidate cannot go in and change. So I was in contact with the Indiana Election Division, and it is not allowed for anyone in any circumstance to change a form that has been filed in this situation where someone signs an oath, so they are not to have changes in the clerk's office on any forms, even after the candidate has signed the form. So I realize that that may have been a policy in the past, but I want to ensure that going forward that does not get repeated. And then also Matt did say that, of course, if there's time before the filing deadlines and you notice a mistake, you can always call or contact the candidate and ask them to come in and file an amended form.
How many, and I know this is day to day, how many filings do you get in a day regularly?
It can vary from about 10 to about 25, 30.
Again, I figured it was different every day, so it might just be best practice from this point on is to maybe have a staff member, before it's accepted, look it over.
Yeah, so I think we have kind of talked about this in the office a little bit, but I am looking at creating a different policy than what we currently have for in the office of how we're going to handle the candidate filings. And instead of it just going through one person, it will have a first check and then a second check. And both of those individuals who check them have to initial.
And that would be before the candidate leaves your office.
Correct.
I mean, I realize when it's precinct committee persons and there's a lot of, there's a lot of names there.
Yeah.
But I understand it, and I understand both points on this.
I just don't want fraud to be committed.
No, I don't think
there
anybody.
was no fraud. There was no fraud.
According to a lawyer I spoke with, that constitutes fraud. Alter a
There
form
was
like
no
that.
fraud.
But it has happened, what happened has happened in the past.
Yeah, so in the past it has been handled that if an individual forgets a piece of information, and it's generally a simple piece of information, not like for this instance, it was a name. They forgot to put their name on it, but we had the rest of their candidate filings with those and had their signature on it, so it was added. Should have had an initial next to it. In the past, that's how it has been handled. Also, it has been that we will call the candidate sometimes if they leave off a piece of information and they will tell us to make the change, and then we would just initial next to it. Those are both things that have been done in the past. And then we had brought up during that last meeting that if we want to set a new policy, I think it would be best to come from the election board to set that policy, and then we can move forward with that. That way we have a set change and it can be ran from here on out.
I don't want to make it any harder than it has to be, but we want to make sure that there are no questions when it's done.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think even you last week time suggested a checklist, which I think would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can, when you're doing a bunch of paperwork, you can skip things very easily. All right, so Yes, we would, question would be, do we want to accept the minutes with the changes? With the addendum, I guess? That work?
I'll motion to accept the amended minutes.
And I'll second that. So, again, those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so now the clerk's update, I believe, with the legislative, which is...
All righty. On the House side, I wanted to give you an update that House Bill 1342, which was the Commissioner District bill, it was turned into a summer study committee. House Bill 1055, which was about moving municipal elections to even-numbered years, that bill died. So that is on the House side. On the Senate side, some have been signed by the Speaker, some have been signed by the Governor. The ones that were not signed by the Governor will automatically become law within 7 days, and that 7th day is tomorrow. So Senate Bill 12, which is the prohibition of ranked choice voting in Indiana, that has been signed by the Governor. Senate Bill 112, which was within that bill, if an individual files a notice of withdrawal and that lists an address that is different than the address on the individual's voter registration record, then the signature on the notice of that withdrawal constitutes a request to the county voter registration office that the address on the individual's voter registration record is the same as the address on the notice of withdrawal. You can use that withdrawal form to update the address is essentially what the bill is. And it has been signed by the Governor. Senate Bill 113, this is the one where there ended up being some compromise. The original intent of the bill was to say that we had to hold election material for 60 months instead of the required 22. It was moved to 34 months. And the last action was signed by the Speaker, but again, if the Governor hasn't signed it by tomorrow, then it will become law automatically. And that is all I have for the legislative update.
Thank you. What happened to the, what happened to the 16 days? I thought that was good. Because I just
Now
was
the
led to
Governor
believe.
has till tomorrow.
No,
but
I was led to believe it. That was just, was going to.
So I think there was a significant amount of pushback, bipartisan pushback.
I was surprised when I didn't see, because of how much we've been told it was just going to go through, but whatever on that. Election Central update.
All right, so in your guys' packets, you guys will have the early voting staffing numbers and the election day staffing numbers. Those are both in there. For early voting, I have it set by a schedule for each day during all of the days of early voting that will have a number of how many people will be working, and it will increase throughout the month, but we also do want to make sure that if there is a chance of us having a bigger turnout than expected, then we need to be able to increase that. So I have talked with Bob White on going ahead and setting up early voting at full capacity. So we'll have 10 poll books, 6 print devices, and 5 checkouts set up in case if they are needed at any point during early voting. That way we're not having to try to set up equipment overnight, and it takes a good amount of time to get that set up. I want to make sure that we're making it as easy as possible and making it as smooth as possible for the early voting session. And then also for election day, I have those numbers in there for you guys. I have election day for primary and general. That is leaving us with backup poll books. And if we do decide after the early voting, if we need to increase some of the locations for workers, then we can do that as well.
Do we need to take any action on this?
Not necessarily. It's more so for your guys' information so you guys can see what we're looking at. I've also already sent these to both party chairs, and they have them in their possession as well.
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
So if I understand this spreadsheet correctly, right now you're not proposing to have any sheriffs for
the primary,
Is that
correct.
Okay,
Yep.
just wanted to verify. Thank you.
All right, then let's go to total registered voters data.
All right, so as of today, we are currently sitting at 75,081 active registered voters, 14,659 inactive, bringing us to a total of 89,740 registered voters in Monroe County. On this information, I wanted to bring this up because we will be getting ready to print out postcards and sending those out in the mail with everybody's updated information for their polling location based on the 28 polling locations and reassigning precincts.
Okay.
And then the upcoming important dates, today we actually had the review of the ballots. We had a number of 32 individuals come to check those. That is the most since I've been in this position and working in Election Central that we've had come to the review of the ballots. It was great to be in the new space so people can get to see what it looks like and to see how things are going to be set up. Also, another important day is going to be the test of the ballots. So since we had the review of the ballots today, I will be sending out the certified list to the HEART group, and they will make a couple of changes that we had. And after that, then they will continue to program everything, getting all of it set up, and then they will send us the V drives. Once we receive those V drives, we'll be able to set the date for the public test. Right now, we're looking at possibly Thursday, and that'll be at 9:30 a.m.
Which Thursday?
this coming Thursday,
Today's Thursday?
a week from today.
Okay, thank you.
If someone has never gone to look at how many ballots and different things you have there, that's honestly, that's pretty impressive that you guys have that much stuff laid out like that, and gee, somebody mistyped a name. I mean,
Yeah, so there was 204 ballot styles. We had a couple of typos, and then we had two spots where a race somehow got backed off. When we went back and looked at our drafts that were sent out, they are there. So it's just we have to contact HEART and let them know that one of them got dropped off when they were creating the PDFs, which the individual who we work with, she's amazing. She's very quick and very responsive. It happens. She is taking care of all of Indiana by herself. So we're constantly back and forth in communication with her, and she does a great job. And that's what the point of the review is, to make sure that everything is up to date and that we are good to roll.
you. Mr. Kreider, would you like to come tell us about your wonderful work in there? It looks, it's been a couple of weeks since I'd been there, and it was like, oh, wow.
Good afternoon, Richard Kreider, Monroe County Building and Fleet Department. Yes, it's progressing. The last several weeks, I go in there almost daily to take pictures to update folks, to realize the very next day that my pictures that I took the day before are old news. I mean, they really are speeding along. Aiden, can you please show the photos that I sent? I do have some photos. Well, okay.
Wait,
There it goes.
Oh, all right, okay. So here is the new early voting space. This is the view from the west end of the room. I enjoy the old brick wall from the Showers factory. I think that's a neat feature. Next photo, please. Okay, this is the same room from the east view if you were coming in off the east side of the building. Next photo. This is the open office space. I love it, the carpet, the big dry erase board, the windows. However, I do regret that I did not get in this photo the blackout shades. They're custom, they're installed kind of up under there, and they're custom to each window there. And they do what they're designed to do. Next photo, please. This is the reception workspace just inside of voters registration. Built-in cabinetry. Next photo. This is the lobby to the future voters registration space. I want to point out on this particular photo, you'll notice the large opening there. We actually have in the works. It's two. They're basically what they're called ticket windows. It's pretty simple, but they're prefabricated, and our team's going to install those in that opening when they arrive. Next photo. And I have more information on those if anybody would like that. And this is the future entrance to voters registration. This is the entrance just at the main entrance of the building on the left. And I think that wraps it up for the photos. I have some notes that I'd like to relay. I've had several people ask recently about a delivery date or a completion date, so I wanted to give a quick status update. This week we completed the building inspection, and it passed. We also completed the fire inspection. It also passed. The occupancy number has been officially determined by the fire marshal. That's an important milestone in this project. And it gave us the ability to host this morning's event. The punch list with the architect and contractor happened yesterday. The early voting area, that space it's very close to completion. We're actually just a few doorknobs away from getting that finished up. And based on where things stand today, I think we're comfortably on track for the April 7th target date. Some current things happening. The ballot room shelving is being installed today. Contractors are working through HVAC components, electronics, access controls, and other punch list items. My next focus is preparing the absentee ballot work area in the new space so staff can begin occupying it, and then completing the maintenance room so it can be turned over for operational use, maintenance/IT. Furniture, the early voting order for tables and chairs has been placed. The next goal is to finalize the voters registration area furniture order. And then right now, any furniture that you see in the new space that will be used, it's temporary until our forever furniture arrives. And in closing, overall, the project is moving well. The inspections are behind us, and we're focusing on the finishing details and preparing for operational areas.
Thank you. It is a substantial upgrade. And we were talking actually for a moment before the meeting how much we appreciate that. The pretty new shiny, but the brick walls and stuff and the old with it from the factory. So nice work as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, when I started with the county in 2004, basically everything voting was down in like the bottom of the Justice Building, and it's really come a long way over the years.
Well, it looks really, really, really good. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for all your hard work, and you have been meeting with us regularly to keep us posted, and I'm so incredibly grateful for that. I kind of just want to mention there are some glitches not to do with you, but glitches that could translate to the voting public. One of them is the phones. As I understand it, we have one phone line.
So we have updated the county website to add a second number, but those phones, the 2 lines that we have, if a second caller comes in, they do get pushed to voicemail. So we're still working through those kinks, but me and Richard have been working together on trying to come up with some solutions for that.
So right now, my recollection is I called 2612 and it is not operable.
Correct, but so we're working on getting ABS set up downstairs where phones will be able to be connected, and they'll also have their computers connected to internet as well. Once they are down there, that line will then be operable again,
And that will be,
hopefully Monday.
okay. And so I would just encourage voters who have questions to pack their patience. You know, in terms of the calls rolling over into voicemail, nobody likes to get that. But that's where we are, and there's nothing that we can be doing differently, correct?
Correct.
Will that be true for Election Day also because of the information that's in the training packets?
Yeah, so the numbers that we have put into the training packets, we added the second line, the 2692, into those training packets. And then since the ABS line, the 2612, will be set up downstairs, those will also be active, which are also in the training packet.
So all 3 of the numbers that are listed will be
Yes.
active by election?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
It looked great this morning. Looked
I mean,
absolutely
it
great.
does, it looks phenomenal.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, sir. Go fix some more.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, poll location update.
Post-election.
Well, I've got poll location.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The
you're
order
right.
doesn't
You're
matter,
right.
but I've got that, yeah.
No, no.
Okay, so the poll location update, we have heard back from all 28 locations. They have agreed to be a polling location. And so from here, I just need to receive approval from you guys to go to the county commissioners for them to review this list of polling locations.
Motion to approve?
Second? Okay, in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. It's nice that they're all there. Now let's do a post-election audit conversation. We talked about it. I assume we're just at a point where we have a motion to adopt.
I believe VSTOP, yes, sent the post-election audit resolution.
So is there a motion to accept that resolution?
Motion made.
Second? Okay. Any discussion?
I will have that for you guys to sign after the meeting.
We can do that. So those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, now some new business. CFA 4. Still have some.
So I give you guys an updated list just before the meeting had started. There are some handwritten in ones on there of individuals who have filed yesterday and today. Those. Okay, so on those, the ones that are going to be on the top portion of that, and including the 3 whose names have been added, well, sorry, I should say the first 2 on the bottom section who have been added to that filed list will receive a letter of a first warning. I need to receive approval on that for those letters to go out to those individuals, and I want to break this down that way it's easier for us to understand, if that's okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so all of those individuals they have missed one, this is their first late filing, so they would just be receiving a warning due to the policy. And then the ones that are on the bottom portion, besides our very last candidate on there, they will all be receiving a second letter saying that they have still not filed. And then for that last candidate, this was their second late filing, so it could be 50% of the maximum cost. I just need the election board to determine whether they want to move forward with issuing the fine or not.
Can I ask a
Go
question
ahead.
before we get to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
On the second notice letter and call names, we have 2 individuals on there who are unfortunately deceased.
Yep.
What is the law with regard to their filings?
That was precisely my thought as well when I read that, so.
So normally it would be the the treasurer of their committee would be the ones that need to close their committee. If they did not have a treasurer, if they were their own treasurer, then we have been informed that it should be a relative of that individual to close out the committee, especially if there are funds still in the committee.
Molly looks like she's thinking, so we're listening.
I was just inquiring who the notice went to. If
Wondering the same.
it is
Yeah.
the treasurer or the relative, was that person provided the notice?
So it went to both the treasurer that was listed, if they had one, and then to the candidate themselves.
The candidate's deceased.
Yes.
Did the notice that went to the treasurer and/or the family member say that despite the unfortunate circumstances, we still have to get this filed?
So we have a regular generated letter, and that's why I want to move forward with making the phone calls now, so that a way we can contact somebody else that will be in correspondence with this individual so that we can move forward and actually be able to take an action on this.
I mean, I have no desire whatsoever to pound on somebody that's.
No.
We also need to get it cleaned up.
Yeah.
So you're gonna make phone calls to the, okay.
And I will motion to authorize the election supervisor to make the phone calls.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Will they also then, since the relative, will they need to receive a letter? Because they may or may not have gotten it. It may have gone back to the sender as
Right,
deceased, so.
Right, but,
yeah.
but that should come back to your office, I would
Yeah,
think.
so for these 2 individuals, one came back and said had returned to sender. The second one did not come back, and we have not received the notice that it was picked up either yet.
Well, the phone calls, I think, would be the way to go, and we'll deal from there if we have to. Anybody else have any comments on, I mean,
Not on that, yes.
not on that? Okay, I mean, just,
Mr. Chair, I do notice someone in the audience whose name is on the second notice. I'm not going to out them, but I assume that they showed up because they might want to address the board.
if that's the case, please.
To clarify, I am here to address the board, but I'm not here on a second notice. Can I address the board at this time?
You weren't the person to whom I was referring.
Okay, I just want to clarify. Thank you to the election board for the opportunity to be able to address you today. My name is April Wilson, and I do have some exhibits for you. I'm not sure how you'd like me to present them. Okay.
That's what I was wondering.
More? And I'm ready to proceed whenever you're ready to let me. I just want
I'm
to
ready to let you.
Thank you. I just wanted to start with my first exhibit. So I recently received a certified letter to my home alleging that I had a delinquent campaign finance report, specifically also identifying this hearing as March 5th at 1:30. And it says, in part, a hearing is called to determine whether the committee has violated Indiana campaign finance laws by filing a late or having a missing 2025 annual campaign finance report, and if so, whether the imposition of a civil penalty pursuant to IC 39417 is appropriate under the circumstances. That is a selection of that notification. I did send an email to this honorable body on March 1st. I have included that as my second exhibit. That was addressed to Honorable Clerk Brown. I did CC Election Board Member Githens and Election Board Member Shields. In addition, I CC'd Election Supervisor Kylie Ferris. That email, if I could just read it into the record. Honorable Clerk Brown, I'm in receipt of a notice of hearing for March 5th, 2026, alleging a delinquent campaign finance report for January 21st, 2026. I will be sure to be in attendance. Following the law is very important to me. Could you share with me which rule or statute is the basis for the notice? I think there may be a misunderstanding. As I disbanded my committee in 2023, please see attached. Attached to that email was actually my CFA 4, which shows that I disbanded my committee. I have provided that as well as an exhibit to the selection division. I did not receive any response to that email as of Tuesday at noon, and so I did stop by the election division, and Election Supervisor Kylie Ferris was kind enough to speak with me. In the course of that conversation, she confirmed the paper file that the election division has shows that my committee was disbanded and that it would be addressed today. The document you have in front of you, the CFA, was on the county website, so I know it's also in the election division's electronic filing system. I guess I wanted to approach the board today because one, to address this issue with you, but also when Election Supervisor Ferris was talking about the list, I don't know what the list is. I didn't hear that my name was withdrawn and that allegation was withdrawn. So all I heard is that there would be warnings. I don't know which ones. None of those should be applicable to me because I think there's been a misunderstanding on the election division's part. And I was just hopeful that that allegation could be withdrawn against me at this time.
So she has been pulled off of that list. This was one of the situations where, Clerk Brown, remember when we had started revamping all of the CFA 4 filings and we created a new record list in order for us to keep track of when people are filing and how many times that they have filed late. This is one of those where hers was found later at a different time, and we had been updating the online versions. We had then scanned in hers after the list had been created.
That would be the misunderstanding.
And your name is not on the list that we were given.
Correct.
Okay, sorry, and I hadn't heard the allegation formally withdrawn, so I wanted to make sure that that we are all clear that this is not a mistake on my part.
Ms. Wilson, I will say I did not respond because I did not want to be upbraided for communicating with the other, since you had addressed it to all of us. I didn't want to be upbraided for responding as though I were communicating with the other election board members. So I'm only speaking for me. I'm one of three, but that's why you didn't receive a response from me.
And that
Same for me.
my mind as
Yes.
well when we saw that. We've been,
And then I want to add to that also, I reached out to TSD yesterday. We are noticing that in our election email, but then also in my email, if there is an email that is not a regular email address that we're communicating back and forth with daily, or at least semi close to being pretty much daily, the documents are not being attached to their emails, and they're also being sent to quarantine, and so then we're not seeing those emails in our office. We have quite a few that are in our election email that are currently being looked at to try to get those attachments that were sent with them back to us. And then TSD has been informed on that. They made some changes yesterday, and we're hopeful that it's going to help with that.
I thought I saw emails
Yeah.
about that today, and I don't know anything about anything when it comes to tech, but I'm assuming this is like the whitelisting. to make it so that it doesn't go to quarantine?
I'm thinking it's some of that, but it's hard for us to do that, especially since it's mostly the public that's emailing us to that email address, due to them sending in applications of vote by mail or sending in an FPCA or any of those situations. So they have been informed. I'm working on trying to get some of those kinks smoothed out, and that way we are able to continue with getting those emails in that we should be getting.
But also, I appreciate, Ms. Wilson, that you've come in and to raise these issues, and apologize for the any discomfort or anything that's caused you.
I really appreciate that, and I know you were talking about evaluating policies moving forward. Mistakes happen, I understand that. I know we're all being asked a lot as county employees right now, and that's challenging. It would be helpful, I think, to consider maybe a policy once it's been identified that it was just an error, and a way of noticing them so I can know that I don't have to appear today and that it's formally been withdrawn would be helpful in the future. Thank you, I appreciate your time.
That's more than reasonable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have another question too about this kind of a listing here that we have. For example, I know that Commissioner Jones has not filed to run for re-election. Will she be required to file a CFA 4 for 2026?
If it has not been closed, yes.
So if she files, if what she has filed with you, and that's dated February the 10th, if that is marked as,
So this one can't be marked as closed because she's still an elected official, so she'll have to keep hers open until she is no longer an elected official. That was an update. We had the law change in July of last year where any elected official had to keep their campaign finances open. So once at the end of 2026, she will then be able to file a closed committee.
so she will have to file another CFA 4?
One more, yes.
Yes, okay.
So do we need something now?
This is just to alert anybody that's not running for re-election or anything, that they still will need to file something
Until, yeah.
to indicate that it's a final, if it's a final for them. It may not be, but they will still need to file.
That makes sense. We have one other person here that's listed. We was wondering if they want to talk to us about that.
I'm not outing them. Maybe they just wanted to observe and see what to.
I'm Dorothy Granger. I am running for Bloomington Township Board member. And I received a notice that I had not submitted some financial something or other, but the only financial thing I submitted was last year when the law changed. You know, you have to, if you're paid more than $5,000, you have to submit that. So I submitted that, but I haven't had a campaign for 4 years, so I apologize for my ignorance. What do I have to do?
So you can just stop by our office and fill out a CFA 4, and since you had no money in that campaign, it would just be a 0 on your statement balance, and it's just to keep it updated. With the law change, some people are kind of confused by it as well. Just stop by our office, and we're very happy to help you.
Okay, so does this mean, if I'm so fortunate to be elected again, that I have to do this every year?
Yes, an annual finance.
There's no money?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and then since you are running, you'll have to do a pre-primary and a pre-election CFA 4 filing as well.
May I do that tomorrow?
Yes, of course.
So that's where I am. I apologize.
My lottery ticket, your luck's got to change.
And then I will say in the candidate packets that we give out, it does have the due dates for all of those, but whenever you come to the office, we can also get you a copy of that due date list as well.
Okay, I think it's online.
Yeah.
So, any questions from,
Our goal is to just do whatever we have to do to get these taken care of.
yeah.
So if you go see them tomorrow and get this taken care of, we'll all have a thumbs up. Okay? That's exactly what our goal is to get them.
Yeah, I apologize for not coming in sooner. I've been
Well-
on travel for a while.
You're fine.
The places where it doesn't
Occasionally, we
smell.
discover election laws somewhat complicated.
Well, okay.
Okay, so you go see them tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep. You're welcome.
And you know their office has moved, right, Dorothy?
You know their office is at a new spot now. We've talked about that. Yes, I've been there. Okay.
Hello, my name is Karen Renbeck. I just wanted to apologize for my late filing. I think it was my first offense, I believe, so hopefully I'm on that warning list, but I just wanted to come and apologize and say it won't happen again. Just misread the calendar, and I, again, apologize for my error.
So do you know what needs to be turned in?
It's already turned in. I did it.
Oh, you
it's
did?
It's
Oh.
completed. It's just, it was late. It was after the due date.
I'm sorry.
And I do, yeah.
It's not one of the ones that was written on here.
Right,
It's fine.
yes. So that's all.
I
Thank you
apologize
very
for
much. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
If there are no other individuals to address this list, I did want to do a point of information for the election board. I did receive a few calls from a couple individuals listed on the warning list, and one of them had pointed out and shared with me a photo that I'm going to share with you because this might have led to it led to confusion for the person that I talked to. So, well, I don't have permission to share. TSD. What I'm going to share is in this individual's candidate packet, there is the CFA 4 deadlines listed. And I think they got confused because I'm going to make that bigger. Just give me a sec. Is it going to let me zoom in? There we go. What this is it's a photo from the candidate's packet, and it reflects that the annual report is due January 20th of 2027 instead of January 21st of 2026.
That will be the deadline for the next annual, and then the one for this annual, because the candidate packet, that is for this election cycle, so it would have been on the one from last election cycle.
It might be helpful to indicate that because I think the candidates got confused. And this individual was a first-time warning person, but, you know, it wasn't clear. And so maybe that can be indicated better in the candidate packets.
Okay.
I'm starting to still make it bigger in my computers.
So
Take issue with that just because.
it's a 2026 candidate packet.
When you look at the reporting dates, it tells you, so it stands to reason that if those are the reporting dates for the 7 report, that 25 reports would have been.
And it does indicate the report period as well.
Yeah.
So-
It does. And so I don't know if there's a way to indicate that clearer in the candidate packet, because there were a couple confused individuals. And so I'm not saying that it impacts the first warning. I'm just saying maybe for future preparation of those candidate packets, we could put like something up at the top that says 2027.
Yes, if a line at the top said these dates are for the 2026 election, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, if we could just make it clearer.
I mean, you guys have dealt with it, I haven't. I'm going to defer to your judgment on.
It sounds like we still had one issue to resolve here.
Yeah, so the last one will be the individual who this was their second late filing. So that'll be the very last one on that list. They did file yesterday. So we need to make a decision on if you guys want to move forward with the fine or what you guys would like to do.
You had mentioned 50% of the allowable fine. What would that be?
So it's, I know that the policy is also printed in the candidate packet. I want to be for sure on what the amount is beforehand, so I'm waiting on Molly to pull that.
So what have we done? What has been policy when you get it filed?
So since this new policy was adopted in 2024, we've not had this situation yet because we cleared everybody's late filings out and started fresh. This will be the first one that's actually came to the point of being able to have a fine. No, it's 50% of the maximum. I want to say the maximum is $100 a day. So it would be 50% of $50 a day. I'm not 100% sure on that. I want to make sure with the resolution that was adopted. But the cap on that is $1,000. So,
Mr. Chair, just previous incarnations, it feels like every time somebody new came to the election board, then there also was a change in penalty for campaign late filings. And initially, our hope was to not discourage people from wanting to run, but we got to a place, this would have been about 3 incarnations ago, we got to a place where candidates just did not take it seriously because there was just a warning. In Marion County, there is no warning. You just get fined, and we didn't want to strike that tone. So the latest is the 2024, which is after the first, then you get the 50%.
and then the third is the 100%.
Our goal is to get the forms in.
Correct.
Okay.
Do the days count weekends also?
It does say it's calendar days.
Wow. So I am going to make a motion to impose the second warning penalty.
Of how
I'm
much?
happy to listen to the
Of how much?
$50 a day.
This has been enough that would be the full, the $1,000.
It would, yeah.
Holly, go ahead.
I think the policy says 50% of the statutory maximum, which is $25 a day until current, with a maximum of $1,000. So it's.
So do we know how much this one would be? I just said 1,000, I get that, but have we figured it to see?
What was the date? And I'll just.
It was due
21st.
January 21st, and it was filed March 4th. And then it is $25 a day.
I am trying to get my calculator.
You were already mathing, I'll let you go.
Yeah, if I have it correct.
I'm sorry, so January what?
January 21st to March 4th.
So the total maximum then would be $1,100, and so half of that would be $550.
Motion.
Define 550? Okay.
Well, the maximum would be 1,000 then, because it exceeds the $1,000 cap.
Yeah.
So it would be 50% of the 1,000.
Oh, so it's 50% of the cap?
Yeah.
Okay,
So it'd be 500.
so 500.
Motion for 500.
I'll second.
Okay.
I think our
Let's do this.
staff has enough to keep track of.
Yeah, I think so too. So those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion is passed. Thank you. I assume then you'll, go ahead.
I think you were about to say it. I think I would recommend the election board adopt a motion to send a findings letter and include it in that letter is to the candidate a notification that they have the right to appeal that finding.
You have such a letter already drafted, or?
We drafted a letter when the policy was created, and I believe Ms. Ferris should have that, but it instructs exactly what I said, that the election board on X amount of date finds the candidate X amount of money, and then it outlines the appeal process.
Yep.
Do we need a motion? That such a letter be sent?
Okay, this motion, we send the letter? Any discussion? Favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Oh. I mean, I hate to find people for that, but we've been telling them for a long time.
And
And if you don't, nobody will, you know? Okay. Thank you. I guess we're ready to move on. Early voting, poll worker parking discussion.
Okay, so we have had a couple of questions about poll worker parking for the primary for at early voting. Right now, I'm also looking at for ABS workers, the ones that we are looking at having start pretty soon. Right now, we have 4 spots that are over at the Johnson Hardware Building where we used to be that are still labeled as clerk staff. Those 4 spots will be used for the ABS staff members for in the back office currently. And then we are looking at the parking garage that is directly beside showers. That's going to be the trades parking garage, and working with the city like we have in the past of getting some passes for them. But we've also been informed that we could use the overflow lot of showers, and the overflow lot of the convention center. So we're just working with both of the party chairs. They have said something about doing some shuttles, and I just wanted to make sure that this was being translated to you guys, but also being publicly said so that we can start getting some really defined answers down, and that way we have parking ready for April.
So how many slots are being reserved at the election office?
There are 4.
Not at the Johnson Hardware Building.
Oh,
I'm talking about
none. All that entire parking lot will be for voter parking only.
We're going to staff park somewhere else and voters park there.
Correct.
That's a lot of staff too.
Yeah.
For some of those days.
Yeah, that lot is not nearly as big as it looks when you first pull into it.
Yeah.
So, do we know how many spaces that has?
I want to believe the count that I had yesterday was about 50. We're looking at the plans that Richard Kreider has dropped off by our office of what they're doing when they're repaving the parking lot and restriping everything.
Do you have any sense of how many passes you might be able to get from this?
Not currently. That's why I'm starting to try to get some ideas if we do have to use the convention center overflow lot, how a shuttle would work, and like shift wise because we have the first shift of early voting, the second shift of early voting, getting people there, getting people back. It's going to be a lot, but we're working with both Corey and Chrissy on that. They were actually the ones that brought up a shuttle situation if we needed to, so.
But then sometimes the people who are reconciling at the end of the day for early voting, they're not always done at 6, correct?
No, and I mean, I can say from experience that I've been there until almost 7 o'clock some nights while we're reconciling everything from that day to get everything done. So it's trying to figure out how parking is going to work for each of those individuals.
because the shuttle was, from my recollection of the meeting, was gonna be once in the morning and once in the afternoon. So if you're late and you miss the shuttle,
Yeah.
Because of an accident or something, that's gonna be problematic to well-meaning workers.
Yeah, and like I said, I just wanted to get this conversation going now also so that it is out in the air, and hopefully that we can get some outside people to start giving us recommendations also, or since I am reaching out to the city, more than likely tomorrow, if not Monday, because we're getting all of the street numbers and meters that we're looking at reserving as well for early voting. That way we have additional space. In the past, when we worked with the city, they've been really great about giving us any metered spots that we've asked for. Down at Johnson, we did quite a bit. All of the parking on the side of the building was always reserved for us. So I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. It's just the amount and volume that we're looking at that could be an issue.
Would it be possible to get bus passes for Bloomington Transit in case people weren't able to catch the shuttle? I mean, that would be,
Yeah, I know that we've not done it in the past. We could look into it and see how that would go.
My only recollection was free rides on Election Day.
Yeah.
I don't know, because they're a business too. City of Bloomington Transit Services, they're a business too. I just cannot see them giving that many passes out for that many days.
Oh, and is there a route that goes from A to B?
Right.
Okay, I think we're just updated and you continue to work.
Yep.
Okay. All right, the equipment for testing needs to be approved.
Yes, so you guys will have a list of those pieces of equipment. This was put into this was sent from VStop. They do a randomize and then send us the list in the order that we should go from. We generally start at the top and work our way down. So by state required, Monroe County has to test 2.5 pieces of equipment, so we've always done 3 in the past. We are looking at doing 6 this year, and then Bob White did suggest that we skip Jackson Creek 2, since it is the second scanner, and the second scanners are not used as frequently, so we want to make sure that we are checking the ones that are used more frequently. So it would be the Highland Village, the Souls Harbor, Fairview, Grandview, Emmanuel Baptist, and Eastview would be the ones that I'm suggesting today.
So when will this occur?
So this will be the public test that should be on next week on Thursday once we receive the data back from HART.
And what time?
It would be at 9:30 a.m.
Okay, and these will all be at election
Yes.
excellent offices,
Yes.
right?
So this one will be a public notice that has to go out 40 days in advance, 48 hours in advance, sorry. So it will be publicly noticed for that one. And then on that, it is going to be at the new early voting location.
Molly, would we be able to come to that and just to observe without it being considered a meeting?
The election board is supposed to be there. You guys are reviewing it. That's why it is publicly
I didn't want to
noticed.
show up and she's there and oops, all of a sudden we've broken a rule. That answers that question.
I am very pleased that we're going above and beyond what's state required for this testing. Thank you.
Yeah, we were looking at this, and we had noticed that some of these had not been tested recently, so we added in a few extras that we haven't had on the list in a couple of years.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we need to appoint ABS staff. I believe we now have the letters that we received what we were missing, correct?
Yes, so the 2 letters that you guys have from both of the party chairs was sent this morning. It was sent just before noon on our way over here.
I will make a motion to accept the recommended workers from both the Democratic and Republican Party chairs as outlined in the correspondence received.
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, I think the appropriate procedure would be to attach the list to the prepared resolution of appointment.
Attach the list to the amended resolution of the appointment.
She just hadn't said that yet.
And I need to update the resolution because I was unaware that any lists were received. And so I'm going to display this resolution.
We've discovered, as we try to fill these, that if you could do like 2, instead of just 2 people, 4 half-time people, wouldn't have to work as often, that we would have had better luck getting people more quick. Run into.
When I've talked with people that oversee early voting, they say oftentimes those people assigned in the afternoon, they're not as reliable about showing up, and so it's better if you can get full day.
Okay.
It just avoids problems. I think
Okay.
that's what it is.
So where are we then?
So for the resolution that I'm now currently displaying, the first highlighted date would be the date that the election division reached out to the party chairs, which is
What's the meeting that we had?
I was thinking the February meeting, and we had two, right? But it was the first one.
So we originally asked for the leads at the December meeting. And it has been a ongoing process. And then they were officially asked for at the,
February 13th.
yes. Yep, February 13th meeting.
and when was the list from the county chairmans received?
Both of them were today, and the one from the Republican Party was received at 12:27 p.m., and the one from the Democratic Party was received at 11:27.
And do you anticipate a second list, or is this all of the ABS workers?
No, there will be more ABS workers, and we will have to schedule a special meeting of the election board for all other ABS workers.
When do the ABS workers start?
Their first training will be April 1st. And some of them will start Monday if this list is approved today.
Well, I was going to suggest doing it all in once, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be possible. So I will update that first highlighted date to February 13th, and then the two additional dates to today's date. And this resolution was provided to the election board, but it acknowledges the Indiana code that allows the election board to, or that indicates the election board shall appoint ABS ballot counters, ABS voter board members, and couriers. By statute, the deadline for requests should have been made by March 16th, and that deadline hasn't passed yet. And then it gives the party chairs 46 days to respond, or they have to respond 46 days prior to the election, and it'll attach the exhibits, and then it indicates that pursuant to Indiana Code 311-544-23, the individuals listed in Exhibit A and Exhibit B, which I'm going to mark the party chair list as, are duly appointed as absentee voter board members for the primary election occurring in May of 2026. The election board directs the Monroe County Circuit Court Clerk to administer the statutorily required oath of office to each of the individuals listed within those exhibits to finalize their appointment.
If these are for absentee, don't we consider that the primary election would start in April, or do we list the May date? Because the early voting starts in April is why I'm asking. I don't know what's appropriate.
It just says for the primary election scheduled in May of 2026.
Okay, so.
So it's not saying that they're starting in May of 2026, that they're working that, what would be that election cycle. And I can add election.
I really am asking, I don't know.
If you're okay with that resolution and those updated dates, I would advise a motion to pass that resolution.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? In favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? So that means we don't sign the one we've got in front of us because we've addended.
Yeah, and then on that, I will say that we will need to schedule a special meeting of the election board once we receive the final list of all absentee workers. Right now, it was really a push to get these ones put through so that they can start working on the absentee by mail applications because ballots have to be out by March 21st. So we want to make sure that they have the enough time to get those put in, processed, and then have time to get them stuffed and out in the mail.
So do we need to come by your office tomorrow, Monday, to sign the resolution?
I'm updating it right now and we'll have it ready for signature at the end of the meeting.
I don't see any parameters, but awesome.
So are we talking about a meeting next week?
Let me get with both party chairs and see where they think that they will be at. I know that they'll have to definitely be appointed before they can do training. So they have to be appointed and approved by the election board before their paperwork can be submitted to HR.
So you and I have an upcoming meeting with both party chairs. I'm going to assume, so that you can create an agenda for that meeting, that you'll reach out to them but no later than Monday so that they can have what we need by that meeting.
Molly, you said the deadline for that's the 16th.
The deadline to request is the 16th, and
Okay.
then the deadline for the submission by the party chairs is 46 days prior to Election Day, which I think puts it around maybe the...
So you need those ahead of the 21st. And it's painful for me to hear 21st, like I want to hear sooner.
Well, the ones that you guys have approved today, those are the ones for before the 21st. We're looking at all of the clerks that will be working at early voting and all of the ballot counters and travel board members. Those are the additional ones that will need to be appointed and then approved by the election board before they can start getting their paperwork sent over to HR. So the sooner the better.
The first Thursday after the meeting that you and I have with the party chairs would be the 19th. So
Not available that day.
Does it have to be on a Thursday?
No. We will just have to check availability for this room.
So you need to check availability for the rooms and then reach out to us with what days we have this room and that we could all get there. Is that?
We could do that, or if you guys just give me a couple of days and then I can find which one the room is available. And are we wanting to still do 1:30?
Well, that was going to be my question. If all we're going to do is vote to approve people, wouldn't think that would be terribly contentious at any point in time. You wanted to go earlier in the day or something? That is not spring break week, is it?
It is.
It is.
Okay. Some of us are too old to worry about spring.
is it fair, like, what's a reasonable amount of time to report back on the availability of this room for the month of March?
I can go check the availability after this meeting.
I was also going to say more so it's going to be on when the party chairs think that they can make the appointments of all of their staffing for early voting counters for on election day and travel board members, because I know that's going to be quite a bit of work that they need to complete, and generally it's the leads who do the recruiting for all of the poll workers at early voting. So it's going to be them starting and then having to immediately jump in and start recruiting people to come work on early voting. So I'm more leaning on we need to see when the party chairs think they can get us their lists.
If I may, I would suggest after March 20th, because March 20th is the deadline for submission by the party chairs, so they have to have them in by March 20th, and if they don't, then there's a statutory procedure for the election board to appoint individuals in that event, so perhaps the week of March 23rd?
I'm available on the 26th, which is, I just say Thursdays for consistency because I know that we on Thursdays, but I know you have some other considerations.
Actually, both of my sons and daughter-in-laws and kids are going somewhere on the 25th and 6th, and I kind of hate to blow that off. I could go earlier in the week. I could go Tuesday morning.
I could do Tuesday,
Do Tuesday.
and I could do the Friday too, if needed.
I'm just wondering if,
You want to go, have 24th at 1:30, does that work?
yes.
No, I've got,
I mean, the room is available, yes.
I would have to change an appointment.
Well, we can, let's
How about
start
I
with-
check availability on the 24th?
check available and then reach back out to us, yes.
And then I can do that right after the meeting, and then we can just notice the meeting.
Okay,
That works.
yeah. So we need to approve training materials.
There's also a resolution for this.
I have a lot of comments on the material Kylie sent out. And I also, we have a letter from the Board of Commissioners about this, but I've asked multiple times for the emergency plan for the elections, and I know that there was one from 2024. Does that need to be updated? And for the 2024 presidential election and polling place security guidelines that came out from the state that was published in August 4, they indicate that it's important that emergency planning materials be reviewed, exercised, and tested prior to Election Day. So I want to know when we're going to be doing this. I've asked multiple times for a tabletop exercise. And it also indicates in the emergency policy plan that Monroe County adopted on October 15th of 2024, it indicates on page 2 that each poll worker will receive information specific to his or her poll from their inspector the Saturday before Election Day. I didn't see anything in the inspector/judge's packet that indicated what that material should be. I didn't see any emergency planning stuff attached to their training stuff at all. And I don't know if there's an emergency plan for early voting. I don't know what happens if early voting has to be moved. I don't know what happens if there's an emergency at early voting, what happens there. So there's a lot of questions for me that go into these training materials. And then I can go through one by one about the different training things.
It might be easier, if I may, to suggest that you look at this in two different capacities, because there's training material for early voting and then there's training material for the precinct election officers, and there are two different statutes that govern what those training materials have to. So of the information that Kylie provided me, I attached anything that is pertaining to a precinct election officer as an exhibit with a letter, and anything for early voting as an exhibit with a number. So the one thing that I would point out, looking at absentee board members, the training material is that Indiana Code 311-1039 indicates that within the training material there needs to be information on election laws and penalties pertaining to the absentee board workers' duties. And I didn't see any of that in there. So before you can approve the absentee board voter one, I do think the election board should have a conversation on how they want to address that part of the statute.
Also, one of the things that I saw was that it indicates that that 50-foot chute that occurs at all the polling locations, and I understand why, I don't disagree with it. It's to be made from where the poll books are. And standard practice in Monroe County has been the 50-foot chute starts at the outer door. And so I think that that needs to be really clarified in the training material, and it's not in there. It just says 50-foot chute. So I think that's one of the things that needs to change, because poll books are at least 5 feet inside the door. At some polling locations, they're 20 feet inside the door. And so that really changes what happens and what the inspectors are instructed to do.
So on that one, I will say in the past, the election board has said from the door, due to many of the polling locations not wanting any campaigning material inside of their building, and if some of them are further into the building. So for instance, Bloomington High School South, when you enter their building, they are much further than 50 feet from the door to where they do vote. And I know that them, for instance, do not want any campaign materials inside of their building. Same thing with churches. We've had that same situation. And then Boys and Girls Club has already told us as well that it can't be inside of their building as well. So that 50-foot chute has always started from the door of the building that they enter. And it's actually no longer a chute. The state statute changed, and it is now a 50-foot radius from the door.
Okay, but it's not from the door. It's from the poll book. Is that the statute?
So, as I said, most of the polling locations do not want any campaigning material within their building. And so if we were to do it from the polls, then there are polling sites that it would be within inside of the building that candidates could post their materials within.
Do you want me to look up the statute?
I think it would solve any problems.
I do understand what you're talking about. Does South use that large group room?
They use the white gym.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Unionville Elementary uses their gym as well, and that's another one that's pretty far away from the doors. And then I want to say it's Sherwood Oaks Christian Church is another one that theirs is further into the building and is much further than 50 feet from the door.
Sherwood Oaks. I vote there, I know.
We're asking for places to let us use their buildings. I think it behooves us to cooperate with their requests
I concur.
in a standard 50 feet from the door. Because the schools are not going to let people stand in there passing stuff out inside the buildings.
Agreed.
As they, but an area outside of the door, I mean, well, most of us haven't driven around and looked at every polling location, you know, to, okay, this is where they come in, this is what door they use. I would be, you know, once you get inside the building, you're just walking to the spot.
I just reached out to both of Matt and Valerie to see who will respond first. And pose that question to them. I am in agreement with you, and, you know, certainly election laws change, and they can change in, you know, whiplash fashion, but I can remember when Assembly Hall was a polling site, and those candidates were definitely outside of the door, doing their electioneering. And so, you know, that has always been my understanding as well, so that the voter is not unduly influenced right inside of the polling location.
The statutory definition of chute is the area that extends 50 feet in radius measured from the entrance to the polls, or for the purpose of early voting, the office of the circuit clerk or a satellite office of the circuit court clerk established under 311 to 1026.3. And then it goes on as to what to do if that 50-foot radius ends up on a polling place property line.
Okay, so it is from the entrance of the poll.
So then the
door.
So then the training material for the clerks and sheriffs, item number 1 has to be changed.
So Ashley just said that she will update it.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Ashley.
I've actually always found it sad that people think that they can stand outside those places. And if you get to that point and you don't know who you're going to vote for, I think it's kind of sad.
I've seen it happen.
Okay? I mean, I've never yet had a sign outside the door change who I voted for, but whatever.
So also, in a number of the places, it says that, yes, a 17-year-old can vote in the primary if they turn 18 on or before the election day, the general election. I would like, in all those situations, that we list the actual date so that there's no confusion from the poll workers. And so it should be on or before November 3rd, 2026, and that occurs in all the training manuals. I just think it's easier. You're not having to stop and think about it. It's just a safety precaution, I think, for the workers. Then in all three of the training things, the word affirmation needs to be the correction. The spelling needs to be corrected. Then there's, in the situations where there talks about voting in municipalities, at least in two of the three packets, it indicates that there's voting in Bloomington this year, and there's not. The only municipality voting is Ellettsville.
So it was all of the training materials were updated. So we just sent over all training materials. It wasn't just the municipal ones. I mean, the primary ones.
But what I'm saying is that it indicates there are two municipalities voting this year, and there are not. There's only one. There are ward seats up in Ellettsville, but there's no voting for city council, mayor, or city clerk in Bloomington this year. So the only municipality is for Ellettsville. Then in multiple cases, you have decision trees, where is it the correct address, yes or no? Is it correct age, yes or no? So, but one of the decision tree is the voter at the correct polling site? And yes or no, and if it's no, you ask, they're given a provisional ballot. But I think that there should be another decision tree that comes off of the no there, where does the voter opt to go to the correct polling locations? And then if no, they get a provisional ballot.
So that's how it is described at training. It is that because on the poll book, if they are at the wrong polling location, it will pop up on the polling book that they are at the wrong location. It will tell them the address of the location they are supposed to go to with a map, and you can actually send them the directions as to where to go to that location. And that is for if you have exerted all of your options, and then you come to that.
But in the decision trees, what I'm saying is that fourth one, it says, yes, they're at the correct place, or no, then it only goes to provisional ballots. I'm saying in the training materials, it needs to be updated to reflect that particular decision. And the same thing occurs in the early voting, that if they could say, I'm going to wait till election day, or I'm going to vote absentee, or I just choose not to vote today, something like that, that it needs to be clean.
So I will say that the main reason for that is because in the past we have had where they wanted us to make sure that we are offering a provisional ballot to every single person, because you can't turn away a voter. That's the reason that it has been described that way in all of the training packets. Most of this information and the training packets that we have are the same training packets that have been for years. They were handed down, and then we've made changes, and it's the same ones that have been approved in the past as well.
Then for valid IDs, you give examples of U.S. passport and then Veterans Affairs. I think I will ask, do any of the poll workers get confused and think that a military ID is not eligible because it's not a Veteran Affairs one?
No, they know all military IDs are acceptable, and they correspond the two of them together.
Okay. Then also in all three packets, on the same pages where that affirmation is misspelled, there's a box there, and I don't understand. Let me get to one of these, because I don't understand why it indicates in the poll book that it would be absentee voter. Let's find the first incident of it.
Ms. Githens, would it be helpful if I display one of the training materials for you?
Sure. When looking at the clerks and sheriff's to-do list, for example, on page 10 of that, if you go down. at the bottom of that, and where it says alert supervisor, get there?
I believe I had it displayed.
Yeah. So where it says, after paperwork steps by the inspector touch process, and then why does it say absentee issued? Why doesn't it say ballot issued?
Because it was an absentee ballot that was issued, not a ballot that was issued. That's a screenshot from our poll books directly.
Okay, but this doesn't follow from what's right above that in my mind. I don't understand why you skipped to that, the process. So it says we'll always ask if the address is correct. If it's out of date, you stop, you do updates, and then all of a sudden it says absentee issued. Is this?
Okay, so this is just an example of what might pop up on a poll book if, like on election day, if somebody asked for an absentee ballot to be sent, but they did not turn it back in. So technically they hadn't voted. So this is what the poll workers would see on election day. So that's why that's there. That's just an example of something that might pop up.
So could you please put that explanation with this? I think that would help, that I don't know why this is showing this, and I've worked at the polls 5 times, including with poll books, so.
Okay, yeah, because this is on one of our slideshows that we show in class, and we do go over this extensively in class. So I feel like by the time they see this in the training on election day, they're going to understand, but yes, I can update something for you.
Confusion?
Yeah, the election.
To clarify, the slides are the exact material that you guys are looking at, just put up onto a slideshow so that they can see it in a bigger format so that we can go along with them in the packets.
Okay, so then, in my mind, this is not clear. Why it came up that way. If you said, this is an example of what might come up if the person had been mailed an absentee ballot but had not sent it back in.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you ballot, I would think.
So I just want to clarify, the training materials are not just handed to them and then they go on and read through them themselves. They are gone through step by step with them. Inspectors and judges classes are 2.5 hours, sometimes 3, depending on how many questions are asked. And the clerks and sheriff classes are generally an hour, sometimes a little longer. That way it just clarifies for anybody who is watching or present.
Okay. Then I'm on the right, for the one for the inspectors and judges. On page 4. That's a long training piece. With over 82 pages in it. On page 4, under item number 1, trying to get to it too real fast. Sure I've got the right thing. You've got you've got the Republican sign-in, and then touch username, and then touch password and number button to enter poll book Democrat password found, where it should be poll book Republican password found. You've got Democrat password found 2 places. And I wonder, and this is a question on page 7 of that same materials. on the third entry there, indicate that says, under clerks, checking to ensure precinct on ballot matches the poll book, are the D initials in the top box on the ballot. Should it also indicate that is the R initials in the bottom box, just to ensure that both boxes are filled? Because that was a problem in Brown County several years ago, that they didn't fill both boxes. It just ensures that both boxes are filled, that's all. And I may have missed this or not understood what the instructions. Where are they to store marked provisional ballots on Election Day?
So the envelopes that the provisionals go back into are then given back to the inspector. The inspector stores them in the provisional canvas bag.
That's what I thought, but
Yep.
And then there was nothing indicated in the training materials, and I know it's been done, so I'm not doubting it, but should there be anything in there about verifying that the form was given to the voter on how to cure a provisional ballot?
Yeah, so while we're there, we, during the training, it is very distinct. We go through provisionals. Actually, I would say for probably the first half of the training class is just about provisionals and other forms. And we actually walk them physically through and have them fill out a provisional while they're there at training and make sure that they are giving the inside form to the voter.
What is an emergency ballot? It's discussed on page 10.
So an emergency ballot is going to be a individual who is a officer or fire department or any of those situations where if they get a call while they're there, their ballot is held, and then when they come back, they are issued an emergency ballot. Those are going to be any of your emergency personnel who leave and come back, because they'll have to void the original ballot they had and then restart their ballot.
So
It'll show that they're already checked in, so we can't reissue them a ballot. So we keep the ballot that they were filling out and then issue them an emergency ballot and then void out their original.
okay, so these are for first providers then?
Yeah.
Okay, that was not at all clear to me in the training. Thank you. There's a lot of places in this particular training thing where they talk about codes, and on page 11, I'm sorry to be so detailed, but I think that these are things that we're responsible for, so I want to make sure that this is done. Under station 2, where it says power, blah, 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 number 3, it says when screen says confirmation code, touch yes and close the polls on the screen. In every other place, it tells where a confirmation code is found, but I didn't see it there. It tells, basically in the instructor's manual.
Sorry, my laptop died.
Yeah, understood. And then some of this, it appears to be taken from state code, and I don't think we have an initial clerk, and I don't think we have an assistant poll clerk. Is that correct?
So the initial clerk is going to be like the main clerk who is handling the poll book, and then your second is going to be the second. So there's always a bipartisan team. Your initial clerk is the first one who's technically doing everything on the poll book, and then your second is the one that's sitting next to them as the bipartisan team.
Okay, and so that defines the color of their tags and stuff like that.
So their tags, everybody is just going to be clerks. They'll all say clerk, and then they'll have red or blue determining their party affiliation so that it's visually clear to a voter There's a bipartisan team taking care
Those
of them.
roles could change throughout the day and stuff.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't, yeah. Then if somebody, earlier, my colleague raised the issue of people working half days. Does something need to be in the training manual that if a new poll worker comes in the middle of the day, that the oath is re-administered or something like that? I know that the inspector would do that, but does it need to be in the training manual?
So in 2024, we did not have any half-day workers because we had found too many issues with it. And at this point in time, we're currently still looking at doing no half-time workers for this election. But if it comes down to it and we don't have enough people to work, then we will start adding in half-day to make sure that we're able to fill everything.
Understood. I hope that doesn't happen.
We all do, I think, because it's too much of a hassle of making sure that somebody actually shows up, and if they don't, then it's us having to send somebody out last minute.
Okay, way down on page 61, in there after it, you see that bright pink thing that says no ballot available. There's a typo that I think changes the meaning. I mean, there are other typos that I just, ignore this, but it says if voter is not in the municipal and voter's address in the poll book is out of date, voter registration would like to update their address if, not is the voter willing, but if the voter is willing. Again, if it didn't change the meaning of it, I wouldn't care. And then I don't see anything on the emergency plan, emergency evacuations.
So all of the emergency planning.
And I was told at an earlier meeting that it would be included in these training packets.
All of the emergency is within the binders that the inspector gets. Those are not the training materials. Those are the information that is issued to each of the inspectors, and it has all of the information about their poll inside of those binders. And in addition, the training is also in there in case if they forgot something or if they need to look back at something.
So they're not given emergency training per se. They're just given a checklist for different situations.
It's generally a checklist. It's the plan that was set with Molly was there, I was there.
2024?
Yeah. There was a couple others. Jamie was there.
Right. I read it.
Yep. That's the plan that we have. We also put that into a couple of things, and then there are some step-by-steps of if this happens, this is what you're supposed to do. And those are held in the binders for each of the polling locations because they're designated for each polling location.
I view that as part of the training material, and I think we should have seen it. Because the inspector has to know that material to be able to appropriately do his or her job.
Yeah, it's in the binders that the inspectors pick up the Saturday before. They pick it up the Saturday before so that they are able to review all the material and familiarize themselves with everything that is in there. And then they set up the night before as well so that they are able to physically see everything with their entire team.
I still think it should be included in the material that we have to approve. So that is part of our role on as the election board. In multiple places in these training materials, it also talks about an expiration date, and this is for what is a valid date on their ID. It just says expiration date of 11/5/2024. I believe it should say on or after so that there's no confusion, because it certainly could have been that date. And I still haven't heard what is going to happen for early voting if has to be an emergency or if there's an alternate emergency vote for early voting.
That's the same plan that was established in 2024.
And you and I have a meeting that will include Ms. Jamie next week, so I think it's
We have these meetings yearly, so.
But
I know that. I'm saying we can review it with Ms. Jamie to determine.
If there needs to be any updates or changes, yes.
But I heard at the December training that we, the election board, should be going through a tabletop exercise, and I still have not heard anything about that.
So we were invited to a tabletop exercise in 2024. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if Clerk Brown has heard anything about one being put on by the state yet or not. But that's generally the only tabletop exercises that we are.
I have not
given.
received anything, but I can reach out to the Secretary of State's office today. How many?
Not much. I'm right here. So one of the things that also indicates in what came out of Secretary of State's office is that it would be good if reach out to all the utility providers and make sure that no maintenance is scheduled near any of the polling places for February the 5th, from May the 5th on Election Day. Have you been able, you or your office been able to do that?
I have never seen any public utility place take care to not plan their activities around elections. We get calls regarding issues at polling sites. We do our best to work with them. I think it's
I'm just asking if that's been done because they don't necessarily have to keep track of where the polling locations are.
I think we can talk to Jamie. Can we put that on a list to talk to Jamie?
Yeah.
Just one more. Do we have any backup emergency sites? Because that's one of the other things that's talked about in some of the emergency management stuff.
In 2024, we had asked about having the courthouse, this location, actually as a backup location in case if there was a situation, and we never heard back if that was okayed or not.
We did. We were told no.
I would like to check with the commissioner's office on that because I do not remember the ask. I remember the discussion of potentially identifying polling locations, but I don't know that it went beyond that discussion. So I'm happy to check with the commissioners on that.
It did. Commissioner Thomas said no.
Well, given that the courthouse would be closed that day, it'd be reasonable to ask.
Yeah, that was one of my main reasonings on that, was because it is a county government building centralized in the middle of the county, and that it would be a quick location that we could easily access since we are since it is the county and it already being closed. We had looked at a couple of other options, and because we had looked at the
library was proposed,
Yep.
and the instructions were we had to talk to the trustees. Ellettsville Town Hall was proposed. We would have to talk to Ellettsville, and then there was a location on campus which required a conversation with the trustee or someone at campus, and I do not think any of the follow-up conversations occurred.
Those were other appropriated items and locations that we had discussed. And then we had planned to meet back, and then Election Day came around.
I'm just raising these questions because I've read about them in what came out from the Secretary of State's office, and I think that we need to be cognizant of these things. I don't want an earthquake. I don't want any other natural disaster. I don't want other things to happen, but they're all possible, especially given what's been happening around the country.
So go ahead, Molly.
So if I may, I think that given the extensive list of potential changes and the fact that you have to somehow address in the absentee board members providing information regarding election laws and penalties per statute, it may be appropriate, since we're scheduling a special meeting in a few weeks, to perhaps table this resolution to improve training materials until that date, so that the proposed changes can be incorporated. You have the opportunity to review it. Some information that is required by statute can be put in there, and then you can revisit this.
Great idea.
I'd like to get it more than 45 hours before the meeting.
I will move to table this until the meeting.
Second.
Discussion? Favor aye?
Aye.
Okay, so we table that. Molly, we need to talk about meal stipends, it looks like.
Actually, I do not think you need to talk about meal stipends. I haven't prepared that resolution yet because I'm researching on who actually needs to adopt the resolution. Per Indiana Code 36631, the commissioners, as the county legislative body, sets an ordinance to provide meal allowances to precinct workers. There's not an equivalent statute for absentee board workers, so I need to figure out if it's the county council who actually sets the per diem for absentee workers, that would have to also set a meal stipend for absentee workers, which I think is the logical explanation, or if it's the commissioners. So I am going to figure that out, and then probably, hopefully by the special scheduled meeting, be able to propose a resolution that will propose to whatever the appropriate body is to make that correction to either their governing ordinance or resolution or Monroe County Code. So, to be determined.
Okay, that works. All right, then we have a letter from the commissioners.
There's one more resolution. I think it's
Did I miss one?
Yeah, it was actually a resolution of the ABS category.
Oh, I'm sorry, well, that's yours as well. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. So this resolution, in 2024, the county council passed resolution 2024-12, which created 3 ABS categories, and depending on what category a certain position was placed in, determined their pay. And that resolution provided that prior to the election cycle, the election board would place the ABS categories or ABS positions into one of the categories. So this is one updating this. And so first I put the designations that were used in 2024 for clerk, travel board, and leads. And then I added reconcilers to this resolution because they've never been previously included in a resolution. And so this resolution provides that ABS clerks would be category A, ABS travel board and reconcilers are category B, and ABS leads are category C. And then if you adopt this resolution, a copy is to be provided to the county council.
I see no reason not, someone else does.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay, those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I just got a text from the Secretary of State's office regarding the tabletop exercise session, and they are still waiting for their DHS grant. That's what pays it, because they use all 92 counties. All 92 counties are welcome to participate. And so that would have been how they funded it. We went to Scott County.
Yeah, I believe so.
And so that is directly from the Secretary of State's office. They are still awaiting their DHS grant.
That doesn't preclude us from having our own local, does it?
Well, until we got direction from the state as to how to handle it.
My comfort level would be that we participate in the one directed by the Secretary of State, because the Secretary of State obviously has access to the most intel to create the tabletop exercises that we would work with. Ironically, when Kylie and I went, one of them was a cybersecurity breach after that had just happened here in Monroe County. And so I can reach out again to see if they can give us the materials that they used then, to see if there's ones that we could do ahead of the primary. But my comfort level would be the one directed from the secretary.
I would agree that the people that do it for a living would be better than those of us that would be trying to put.
Oh, I was envisioning having our own emergency management folks help run.
Jamie was with us when we attended that.
Yeah, Jamie had came with us to that tabletop exercise, and it was a really great experience. It was able, and that's what really got our connection with Jamie, and now we're in great communication with her, and she will be at the two meetings that we'll have very shortly, and then she also keeps us updated on election day as well, and during early voting if there's anything that we need to be concerned of.
Right. And I think we do move to the letter. I was surprised to receive this.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Who are the outside actors that we're talking about? Where did the indication that these outside actors are coming, where did that come from? Do we have any idea?
I'm not sure. The letter was sent to me from Jeff Cockrell and asked me to pass it along to the election board.
So one thing I do, Mr. Chair, is because I have connections with the Secretary of State's office, I do regularly ask as we approach the primary if there is anything, because they're going to have the most up-to-date intelligence, if there is anything of which Monroe County should be aware. They obviously also have a plan to notify clerks for impacted counties. So I am not aware at this time of any threat to Monroe County because of intelligence received about bad actors, but I'm happy to visit that again.
It also seems to me that maybe just a little bit of redoing what we just talked about.
That's how I felt when I saw it. We already work with emergency management services. So there's no reason for that there's no reason for that to change. Jamie has been phenomenal, incredible to work with, perfectly available. We have her cell phone number. She has, even though that's a day she could be sleeping in, she is at the ready to respond in real time should we have issues. And we will be in meetings that include her beginning next week.
She's really good also about reaching out to us throughout the day to see if there's anything that we need, also to just give us updates or to ask us if there's any updates for her. She's been great throughout the whole process.
Well, we've just discussed being prepared. And there are people who gather intelligence that we are not privy to.
Correct.
We had the discussion last night working at the basketball game, those of us that work in lobbies. If somebody had planned something, if they had intelligence on that, we would lobbies with zero anywhere. So unless they have something that we anticipate, and there are a lot of intelligence, a lot more frequently than we do, I think the plan that we were talking about, go to the tabletop thing, to me that seems to be sufficient.
I think this is another reason for our residents to sign up for the emergency alert that the county is available, since that is one of the ways that Ms. Nybel alerts our residents if there's a change to well.
We can do that. Anything from any of the board? Due to the length of where we have been, if there is public comment that ties to something that this board does or votes on, we would be okay with comment. Other than that, I would like to move that we adjourn.
Last week.
Is it something that we deal with here?
3 minutes.
And there is a hand raised.
And there's also a hand
Okay,
online.
and we have a hand. Okay, so
And I wanted to thank Penny Giddens for her thorough work that she just performed today. That's amazing in the training material. I appreciate that. That's a good thing. I came here with a timed, prepared speech each meeting. I use my every second of my tiny 3 minutes that I am allotted when I prepare. I wanted to know why an adjournment was called while I was speaking last week. I felt it was rude and disrespectful. That was the kind of disrespect I experienced working at Election Central in 2023. And it's the kind of experience that Republicans have been experiencing from Democrats. And it's the violence that Americans experience from predators today. And we wonder why there's political violence by leftist extremists and mentally unstable domestic terrorists, which is important concerning talking about emergency intel. You know, hate creates hate, hope and change. That's not what I've seen. I've seen hate and chaos. Democrats have created this, all of this. When words are met with violence, when our civilization has fallen, humanity hasn't evolved. With the advent of technology, it has devolved. And as the predators become more cunning with their mimicking abilities and their skillful illusions, they are able to take advantage of the sedated masses who have become increasingly lazy in their thinking and their sense of self-preservation. They've lost their ability to question everything around them, including those they elect in a system of manufactured informed consent. I had something completely different prepared for today's 3 minutes, but again, it's like being in junior high. I am absolutely astonished at the behaviors of the adults these days, and we wonder why our children have become violent. They are the product of the adults in a society that surrounds them. I have no hope when I see elected leaders behave like bullying children. We might as well admit that we have become an idiocracy. We use our opposable thumbs every day as operating these mobile devices, specifically my profession in the United States Army, that I was required to hold a top secret clearance to perform the work. It was also the same Army where I experienced racism against me and other white women, and the same Army where I experienced sexual harassment by both male and females. No, humans don't change. They just become more skillful at avoiding accountability. My point, I get 3 minutes. I will finish those 3 minutes now from last week. To recap, what happened to Go High, Mr. Obama? Oh, that's right, your team lied. And they keep lying. Know what? The most terrifying part is the fact that our real enemies are in our own government. That was 16 words, and that was 16 words cut off. The irony of those last 16 words, enemies in our own government. Perfect.
To just clarify, the reason at the last meeting was that the 3 minutes had expired.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right, but I can't monitor that, and here I have to say my name, I have to do all that. I don't know about how that, and I time it. I time this to where it's right in there.
And we don't push the button to start the timer either.
Yeah, and that's my point. It's like if you're following something that they're doing, then I become the victim of that kind of thing, and even a warning that somehow I'd gone over. I can't monitor it here either. I don't see anything that says, oh, hey, you've got 20 more seconds. You know, I'm up here just going by my own timing, and I spend hours making sure I'm in that time limit.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
We have a hand up. It says RB And all we have is RB?
It's Miss Rita Barrow.
Okay, Ms. Barrow, go ahead. It looks like she's been mute.
Looks like they moved her up to give. But her microphone.
Ms. Barrow, could you unmute yourself also, perhaps?
Yes, Katz, can you confirm if she is still there, and if so, why we can't hear if she's talking to us? Okay.
Rita, oh, there she goes.
Yeah, can you
Okay,
hear
there
me
you go.
now?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to, I was listening to you guys, and I just wanted to let you know if you need an emergency building during this, Van Buren's Community Center is open to you.
Okay, thank you.
That is incredibly
The
generous.
newly completed community center, yes.
All right, thank you very much. So you guys made note of that over there, correct? Okay. Right,
Motion to adjourn.
second, in favor, aye? Aye. We will meet again sometime this month.
Next week for the testing.
When we have, the testing, yes, and then when